Hey. So, here to tell my birth story. Sorry, my room looks a mess. Sorry, I look a mess. I tried to do a little something with my hair. I don't really know how this is going, but hey, like I said, I gave birth July 14th, so 8 days ago. And yeah, we're actually honestly just lucky that I have a shirt on because it has been a time recovering. Basically my story starts with, I'm just gonna tell, like, you know, as far as like going into labor and all that, we'll get to like before. Wednesday morning, I was due Monday, July 9th, and no baby. I was just pregnant, which was actually fine with me. My pregnancy was physically very smooth. I never had the moment where I was like, I'm tired of being pregnant. Like, no, get this baby out of me. I was like, he can stay, especially since I can't have Delta, like, book a first class flight on Delta for him to get here. I just really was not looking forward to labor and delivering him because, yeah, it just sounded painful. So I was like, any other way we can do this, I'm all about it. So I was kind of avoiding and dodging that. But so Wednesday morning when I woke up and was bleeding, I was like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, like, wait, no. And so being a first-time mom, and just how I am, and just research everything. And so what I had looked up about bloody show and, like, you know, you going into labor, it just was not what I felt like I was experiencing. It just seemed like the blood that you have when you like are starting your cycle. So for me, I was just nervous because I'm like, what if I made it all this time and, you know, now I'm at risk of like having no baby, like, so scared. So called my midwife and she was like, well, just come in for an ultrasound. Sounds like it might just be bloody show. It wasn't mucousy like I was expecting, like what I'd read about and seen pictures of. So that's why I was like super concerned. So went in, had the ultrasound, they did some monitoring, and they said everything was fine and that he actually looked comfortable enough and had room enough to grow and to be in there another 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, so I just want my baby here now, because that was terrifying. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go home and do what I can naturally to see what we can do to have this baby sooner than 2 weeks, and it's in 2 weeks. And I was like, he's gonna gain some weight. That's gonna be a hell of a baby to deliver. I ain't doing that. So it's like, because what I also didn't want was a 9-pound baby. His dad was 9 pounds 4 ounces when he was born, and I was like, I was 7 pounds 4 ounces. We are not doing 9. No sir, no ma'am. And so Abram was like, oh, but you know, you could have a big healthy baby. I'm like, no, he can get healthy once he gets here. As far as before that, I need him to be in there doing crunches, jumping jacks, whatever, to make this as easy for mama as possible. So that was fun. So then Thursday came, I was doing some, you know, walking around, going up and down the stairs on a yoga ball, trying to see what I could do as far as to get labor going. You know, I was starting to have contractions. And when I felt like they were, you know, apart enough, and I talked to the midwife, that day was Kay, she was like, okay, well, you know, once that's consistent for a few hours, then you can come in. So went in around 11, which was a tizzy getting there because of construction traffic. Then we had some car trouble, so I think it was just the baby's way being like, it's not time, just stay at home for right now. But got there, I was 2 centimeters dilated and 60% effaced, which deals with like the shortness. For people that aren't familiar, deals with like the shortness of your cervix. The other issue though was that my cervix is like very posterior with me being tall. So in them checking, they take their hands, take their fingers, like, and this just depends on like the measurements of whoever's doing it. Sorry, I need my nails done. It's been a while. Like I said, I gave birth. So they just like shove their hands inside of you and like trying to check around. And so my cervix is like back there, so it's just like even more like just woo, hand going up, real intense. But so, yeah, 2 centimeters dilated, 60% effaced. So baby's not, those aren't the conditions that are ready for a baby to come out. That's not active labor. So went home, tried to go to sleep, and my contractions like started to get worse. And I was like, you know what? I do not want to be in traffic in the morning and having contractions like get worse in the middle of traffic. Like, no, let's just go to the hospital. So went around 6 a.m., got there, and I was 5 centimeters dilated and 80% effaced. So some progress had been made in that short time between like 2 a.m. and 5, 6 when I got there. Had some progress had been made. So got admitted to the hospital, and they had the monitors on me, which I wasn't supposed to have intermittent monitoring, so I'm still a little confused about that. But anyway, like I said, I was scheduled to have a water birth, but can't get in the water until you're 8 centimeters. That's active labor. So had to work on dilating, getting from the 5 that I was at to 8 centimeters, and being 100% effaced, I guess. So yeah. So kind of hard to do with the monitors. So I was kind of like in the bed, and really what I would attribute the ease of my labor, I mean, not saying it was easy, but just attributing to how I was able to get through labor, was my labor team. So my mom, Ibrahim, and my doula and my midwife. Doula was Kristen Reese. She was amazing. Like, she would, anytime that one of the nursing staff would say, something like, okay, you need to have the monitors, or you need to do XYZ, she'd let me know. She's like, look, you don't have to make any quick decisions right now. You have time to decide. Because they mentioned me getting Pitocin, which in my birth plan I had that I didn't want any Pitocin, didn't want an epidural, no C-section. I wanted it a natural birth. So she was able to keep me informed and on track. Ibrahim was very helpful with me getting through the contractions, being able, doing squats and things. So one thing that I also had that really made labor difficult for me was I was experiencing back labor. So back labor is a severe pain in your lower back during labor, and with your contractions, it makes them more intense. So all through leading up to giving birth, and knowing about what to expect with contractions, which I don't even get cramps during my cycle, so to hear that a contraction is a cramp times 1,000 was just mortifying. I'm what does that even mean for me? But so in the contractions, I had always been told that you should ride them like a wave. So the thought is that you ease into the contraction, you ride it and all whimsically and whatever. But with back labor, when you have a contraction, you're experiencing that contraction at the peak and it's most intense. So the other issue I was having is that some of my contractions were minutes long. They were looking on the monitor. I think I want to say I had one contraction that was a legit 10 minutes long. So it was painful. And so to have that, you're no pain management, everyone still is you're crazy, how did you do that? And I'm I don't know, but I do know my labor team, they were awesome. And having Dr. Bootsaler come in and just explain you want to surrender, and just he's you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to labor properly from the bed, you're not going to make any progress if you're in the bed. He's took the monitors off, and he's you gotta get around. So I was all right, got a little rejuvenated. I was okay, let's do some squats. So we had the yoga ball and just trying to do some different things. But Ibrahim was very helpful in me getting into a squat, but maybe not necessarily being able to get out of said squat. You'd be able to pick me up and just get me into different positions. My mom was helpful with rubbing my back and getting me through the back labor. So then there came a point where through the contractions, because I had strained so much, my cervix was starting to swell. And so that's when the nurse was yeah, you're probably going to need to get an epidural. And if your cervix keeps swelling, you're more than likely going to have to get a C-section. And I was wait, what? No, these are all things that I explicitly stated that I do not want to have. But I was in so much pain that if it weren't for my labor team, I probably would have actually done those things. So that's one thing that I think is super important for anyone going into labor. If you have a specific way that you want to do it, or you have a plan A, you have a plan B, in order to make sure that you stick with it, make sure that your labor team is aware of your wishes and that they are supportive and really standing their ground with those things, because they honestly probably would have been able to talk me into getting an epidural and a C-section, because I was just I feel I'm dying. my baby had actually had a bowel movement while he was in his sac, which made him like it was meconium. So that was dangerous as far as in me being able to have a water birth because of the bacteria involved in that. He could breathe it in, so like he can't have a water birth. But then somehow it was okay. And then it was said that I couldn't have the water birth because his heart rate was changing too much. Like with each contraction, it was making too many variations. Which, come to find out, that was because his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck twice. Now, again, what I say about research and like just knowing what to expect and like being aware of different things. I had like maybe 2 weeks prior to that read an article about nuchal cords and how your umbilical cord being wrapped around the neck is not considered. It mentioned them being necklaces, not nooses. So that was something that didn't scare me. Actually made fun. I call him Little 2 Chains because he had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck twice. But being aware of that, because I know someone else who had the same scenario where they're like, oh, the umbilical cord dropped down the neck, and so they were able to talk that person into, I know they had a C-section, and I'm like, no, see, because I know that, I would have been like, actually, I know that the risk of him actually, like, something being wrong is very low, so that's not, we're going to be fine, we're going to stick with what we're doing. So, night came, and Ibrahim's mom, who also wanted in the delivery room, she came. His 2 sisters came. His dad came, but he went and waited in the waiting room because, you know, a guy. My little brother and his fiance came. I was like, you probably don't want to be in here. So they waited in the hallway a little bit. But it was, I don't know, for some people that probably seems weird to have like so many people like present for your birth, but I'm a huge like family person, and really the support and the love was just really helpful for me because everyone was like, oh my gosh, you did so great. And there was a point in there where I just like felt like a failure. I felt like I wasn't doing a good job. I felt like just my whole, like everything that I wanted to do, like how I wanted my birth to happen, I just felt like everything was just like going to hell, and it was just like terrible. So to have that support and that extra like audience there to like, you know, kind of cheer me on, because they definitely were. They're like, oh my gosh, we can see his head. They got a mirror and put it in front of me so I could see the progress that I was making, because like, if y'all say that this baby's gonna be here soon and I don't see a baby, we're gonna have some problems. Like, hurry up. Like, where is he? So yeah, so at one point, aside from the mirror, I could actually see him. Like, because I was like, they had me like doing this like crunch squat thing. I could actually, like, I could see my vagina, and I could see the baby's head. Like, I could see the top of his head. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they're like, push. And I was like, okay, first of all, let's pause here. Push. I felt like if I kept pushing, that someone was going to have to catch the baby. Like, I felt like he was going to go flying across the room, and I felt like my vagina was about to burst into like and there's a million pieces, and there were just going to be like vagina bits like all over the room. Like, it just, like, I know that's like an extreme example, but it just literally felt like it was just going to pop off of my body. And so I just was like, I don't think I can push anymore. Like, and they're like, no, push. So that was, whew. So I pushed, and he came out, and it was all slippery. And, you know, saw the cords. They got the cords, you know, unwrapped around his neck, and I got to hold him for a little bit. And he went over to be examined or whatever. And my mom and Ibrahim's mom were over there, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I just love. He's got so much personality already." And I'm like, I would love to meet this little personality. Like, can I see some more? Like, can somebody bring my baby back? But no, it was overall, it was an intense experience. Like I said, it was there for a while, from 6 a.m. to having him at 12:42 in the morning. But love my little man. I don't know how people have more than one child, because to do that naturally, like, woo. And, you know, not shaming or saying anything against anybody that decides to have a form of, like, medical or, like, medicine used for their pain management. If you want to get an epidural, if you want to use Pitocin, like, have at it. I just know what I desired for my birth, and that just was not it. And another lactation specialist, when she came around, she was like, what did you use for pain management? Did you do anything? And I was like, no, I had him naturally. She was like, I can tell. He's, like, super alert. So, you know, just for me, in reading that epidurals can like affect you even after birth. Like they can cause you to have like, you know, back pain or back issues after. It's just something that I did not want. So had my natural birth. Justus James of Dusabor was 6 pounds 14 and a half ounces 20 inches. He was born at 12:42 a.m. And at his doctor's appointment this past week, he actually has gained some weight. He actually was Thursday, he was 7 pounds 4 ounces. So my milk is coming in, doing well on that end. But I will give you guys some more details and go into that a little later. Like I said, this first video might seem a little janky until I like get the hang of this thing. But I just wanted to share my birth story and just, you know, kind of go into like how things were for me. And I am very pleased. See, baby, thank you so much. Dr. Bootsailor, Kirsten Reese, Ellen Adamo, my birth team, my mom, Ibrahim, dad. Love, love, love you guys, because really honestly could not have made it through without all of them. And the team, the staff at Wellstar, they were so great. My next video I'll probably talk a bit about my like stay at the hospital and just like how there's some things that you just don't even know that you need until you need them. And who else? What else? Yeah, I mean, if you guys leave some comments about things you maybe want me to answer below, and I'll try to cover them in the next video, because I know some people were curious about like how recovery is and like what's the hardest thing so far that I found in motherhood. But yeah, so we'll get to that. But yes, just want to say huge thanks to C-Baby, huge thanks to the Atlanta Medical Center and their staff, and I look forward to sharing more with you guys. This is Justus growing up. All right, bye.